the Women in Business podcast. Insights from top financial professionals. Strategies to grow your practice. The future is female. It all begins here.
Welcome to the Women in Business. My name is Jaclyn Gladhill, and I work in the radio department at Luzon Media. I've been working closely with Tony Shore to help host radio shows and podcasts with financial advisors, including our guest Jenna Carnes today. And you will want to stay tuned because we will be talking about how to empower women in transitions together. Before we dive into this, I want to say hello to our guest Jenna Carnes. Jenna and I have done a few podcasts together, so it's a true pleasure to be able to do the Women in Business podcast with her today.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for having me, Jaclyn. I'm just so honored to be here. And this is a topic that is truly near and dear to my heart to help women that are just trying to navigate how to get through losing a spouse financially. So a lot to talk about today.
Yes, for sure, Jenna. And so why are you so passionate about working with women going through such a big life transition?
Well, good question. I personally have experienced the grief and just how overwhelming it can be to go through losing a relationship and the change it can bring to your financial security and even your business. So to answer your question, the reason I'm so passionate about helping women know that they can rebuild financially is because I've been there. I know what it's like to lay awake at night being anxious about my financial future. So I want to help other women avoid having to be so worried.
Yeah, I appreciate that so much, Jenna. And I think your story and sharing that is so important. And it can be, sounds like you have used something that is really hard that you've gone through to find purpose and to help other women.
Yeah, really, I'm humbled by it. And it is such a blessing to be doing what I really feel called to do to help people. I especially enjoy working with women that are going through big life transitions because I really feel like it makes a significant difference in their lives if you can help them get through maybe one of the toughest times in their life and not have to worry about the money side of everything.
Yeah, for sure. Sometimes people search their whole lives to find the career that is most rewarding for them. And I'm just so happy for you that you found that. And I
Oh,
also
thank
know,
you.
yeah, and I know that you have shared with me that you have a large number of women, clients who have lost their spouse. So I remember you mentioning a client that has been a huge advocate for your firm. Why do you think she picked you as a financial advisor and referred her to so many of her girlfriends?
Well, this woman is just amazing, and I'm so grateful to have her not only as a client but now a dear friend. And we actually met at church at the divorce recovery support group. I've been speaking in that support group at church for over 10 years, and she was going through a divorce and attended the divorce support group. And she said that she really chose to have me be her financial advisor because after hearing my story and knowing that I had been through transition as well, that I wouldn't judge her. And she just really felt like I was knowledgeable and could put together a good plan. So we did put together a plan. She's been a client now for around 9 years, and she's been more than satisfied with the investments that we've had her in. And she has literally, Jaclyn, I kid you not, referred me to like a ton of her friends and family members. So I would call her my biggest advocate. And just recently, she referred her older sister to me. And she had brought her older sister to the Women, Wealth, and Wine event that we did late last year with Lisa Schreiber from Gradient Investments. And so after attending that event and meeting with me, I recently brought on her sister. And get this, her sister alone, we moved $2.2 million in assets at the beginning part of this year. So it's
Wow.
amazing if you have one client that's a real big advocate for you, how much it can affect your business.
Yeah, no kidding. And what a great story. And I think when you talked about, the trust in a financial advisor and, staying confidential, that's huge. So this gives hope to so many of the women financial advisors listening or watching that they could find such a loyal client in such a shared time of transition and grief. I think you told me, Jenna, that according to the Allianz Women Money and Power study, that over 70% of women changed their financial advisors a year after losing a spouse or divorcing. So is that correct?
Yeah, it really is. I can't tell you how many clients have told me that when they're sitting in meetings with their husband, that the financial advisor doesn't even look at them or really acknowledge them or care about their point of view. And so you can only imagine if the husband or the spouse passes away and the wife now is going, do I really want to work with someone that didn't really even acknowledge me in the meetings we were in? Many times, the women after the spouse passes, they do want to look for an advisor that they really connect with better and that will communicate with them in a way that they feel comfortable. And I truly believe, Jaclyn, that women have such a competitive edge in this market. Like when you go to the doctor, I mean, a lot of women like working with women, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And I especially think when they're going through a really tough time in life, they want someone that's warm, compassionate, and really knows that they'll be there for them during this stressful time. I can tell you this, they are not going to be working with advisors that talk down to them or don't listen to them or have no patience to answer their questions. And I truly believe women have the natural ability to show empathy, to listen, and
Mm-hmm.
give just that warm and loving approach that people need really going through this tough time in life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's why you and I get along so well, right, Jenna?
I know we love the feminine energy.
Absolutely. So, I mean, just a quote from Teddy Roosevelt that he once said,
Yeah.
people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Right, Jenna?
Yes. You really have to first show these women that you do care because divorce and widowhood, they aren't just financial events. They really are emotional.
Mhm.
And everyone handles grief differently, don't you think, Jaclyn?
Yeah, absolutely. And I just want to add quickly, Jenna, that you're right. When you are going through divorce like that, you are grieving someone. Even though they
Yeah,
are alive, that's grief.
right. It's grief. Yeah. And so advisors who really take the time to show empathy and understanding will build stronger relationships and really client loyalty. And I personally think the best way to connect with women going through transitions is to really listen, like I said, show that empathy, show that you care. But especially, I find women that are coming in either freshly divorced or maybe going to be divorced soon. I mean, some of them come in with some strong emotions like shame,
Mhm.
overwhelm, and sometimes depression. And so, if you can be a person that just accepts them and doesn't judge them and
Mhm.
actually is there to help them walk through everything financially, like I said, they will just love you for life and be a huge advocate. And in some situations, Jaclyn, I've had some women come in that, quite frankly, I was concerned about. Maybe they didn't have a whole lot of family support or friends helping them get through the divorce. And so I think it's actually good to, if they're open to it, give them some extra support by referring them to a divorce or widowhood support group. And I have a big list of the divorce and widow groups in our community, so they can choose from community centers to churches to whatever they're comfortable with. Uh, and sometimes it's even made sense to refer them to therapists to work through that grief,
Mhm.
or just different divorce attorneys, even can be appropriate as well. But it's good to have a network of support that you can also refer them to. And that shows them that you care. You're not just there to make a sale, that you care about them as a person going through such a hard time.
Yeah, Jenna, that's just going above and beyond for those women that you truly, I mean, you're showing that you care about them and you want to build that long-term relationship with them.
Thank
So,
you.
yeah, and I have a question for you regarding that. So, if a
Yeah.
woman just lost their spouse unexpectedly or went through a very traumatic divorce, how do you personally approach the sales process with them?
Yeah, good question. Very delicately and with a lot of patience and compassion. When people are going through heavy grief, I mean, can you imagine like losing your number one partner in life? Like you just wake up one day and they're not there.
Mhm.
A lot of times people pass away even unexpectedly. And when the brain is going through grief, at least for the first few months, sometimes the person's almost in a fog. And so some financial decisions do have to be made right away. Like, how are we going to pay for the funeral? You have to let
Mhm.
Social Security know that your spouse passed away or that you're getting divorced. But some of those really big financial moves, I try to push that out at least a few months after the initial loss of losing the spouse. Sometimes I think it's good for people that are widows or divorced to also bring someone with them to the meeting, like a trusted family member or a friend, just to have another pair of eyes and ears in that meeting to help them make those big decisions. You know what? The biggest thing that I see that divorced and my widowed clients, the biggest financial decision they try to make, you know what it is?
I have no idea, Jenna. You tell me.
Yes. Well, hopefully you never have to experience it, right? But the biggest financial decision I see women that are going through a divorce or have lost a spouse that's passed away is they want to move out of the house right away. And,
Mhm.
you know, that's totally understandable. Can you imagine like walking around your house and just all the memories of everything you did with your spouse constantly popping up? You know, sometimes you just really want to like start somewhere fresh so that those memories don't constantly play in your mind when you're walking around your house. Um,
Absolutely.
but but wouldn't you say, Jaclyn, that moving is probably one of the most stressful things in life?
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
financially, responsibility-wise, I mean, especially if you have kids too. I mean,
Yes.
that's so many stressors in there.
Yes. Absolutely. And so I try to just get them to think about the timing of that because think about it, if you're going through just some really heavy grief and emotions from losing your number one partner in life, uh, it's sometimes good to wait a little while before you try to move just to not take on like so much in the
Mhm,
midst of heavily grieving. Now, sometimes when people are going through divorces and things like that, they don't really have a choice. They have to move out, let's say.
mhm.
But it can be even more stressful going through a transition if you're having to make all these financial decisions, dealing with a lot of emotions, and trying to move all at once. Can you? I mean, you could
Yeah.
understand that that'd be stressful, right?
Absolutely. I mean, and
Yeah.
it from what you're saying too, it does make a lot of sense for some people to kinda take their time and really process it before moving right away.
Right. Right. If possible.
Yeah, so I appreciate you sharing, how you approach these women that are going through such a big life transition and change. So now I'm sure that many of the women financial advisors that are listening want to know how you are attracting so many women in this niche market. So can you please give
Yeah.
us some tips?
Yes. Yes. Well, I have a lot of tips here. So if you need to stop me in between, go ahead. The biggest thing that I do to attract these women is I host educational workshops or webinars. And I use slides from the Allianz Women, Money, and Power study, as well as Gradient's Pieces of the Future PowerPoint. And we give them practical tips on budgeting and also just this amazing checklist on how to rebuild after going through a divorce. And I do these educational workshops. I don't pay for a mailer or do any of that or feed people. I go in and I speak to the divorce support group at my church, and I have it set up with the leader that I come in once a quarter, and I've been doing that for 10 years. And the feedback we've gotten from the women is that they just feel so inspired and empowered to just rebuild and have that confidence that they can be independent financially. And since it's really the way that I give back in the community, probably my biggest, I would say I use it really as a volunteer opportunity more than anything else. I don't ask for appointments at the end at all. They have a folder with my information on it, but I truly do it to help these women. Some women have a lot of net worth and some are starting, over completely, but I help everyone. And I think that getting plugged into a divorce or widow support group is a great way to get a steady stream of referrals. I mean, I constantly hear from my women lady boss friends, well, I'd like to do a seminar, but they're so expensive and you got to pay for the dinner. And it's a lot of money. Well, this is a way that if you get into a big enough church and can plug into the divorce support group or a community center, wherever you're comfortable, it could be a steady stream of referrals and a seminar that you don't have to pay for a mailer for,
Yeah. And Jenna, do you think by doing this, it has helped you grieve as well?
Yes, it's been a huge part of my healing process. Anytime I think you can use something in life that was meant for bad or harm for good, I think it gives me such a sense of fulfillment, being able to help these women. And I mean, I meet with all different types of women. I mean, in our area, we live in a pretty high net worth area in Kansas. There are a lot of even stay-at-home moms that come into this class that haven't worked in, 20 years, and they're trying to rebuild now and find a job even after getting divorced or losing their spouse if they passed away. So sometimes you have to really educate on budgeting and how are we going to find a job now? And then there's other women that come in that are like, I'm the CFO of the finances in our house. I got this. And it's really neat because they can learn from each other as well and just share their stories. So I love being part of that group and just at least popping in to speak, once a quarter. But absolutely, it's been a huge part of my healing process as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
I love the group environment too, that you're just,
Yes.
with other people and, your clients are also with other people and they have you, but they have others as well. So
They
I love that.
do.
And
Yeah.
what other tips do you have?
Yeah. Well, again, I can't stress enough how important it is to partner with the leader of the divorce support group or the leader of a widow support group because anytime at our church, for example, our divorce recovery group, anytime they have a woman that joins the group, because they can join anytime throughout the year. It's not like they have to join at a certain time or anything.
Mhm.
Anytime they have a woman that comes into this divorce support group, if they're worried about money or they're talking about like, hey, I really need to leave my financial advisor because I didn't really like him, um, they give my information out. And so there have been times that women have called me that haven't even seen my presentation, but because the leader of the support group gives out my name and number so much, I've really had a pretty steady stream of referrals coming in for quite a few years now from that group. And truly, I go in there with the heart just to volunteer. Like I'm not even in there asking for them to come in and set up an appointment, but many times they do just end up calling me because after hearing me speak and then seeing my card in the folder, they will call. But that really is my heart to just go in and help them. And if I end up getting a client, that's great. But if not, hey, maybe I gave them some education to do better in life,
Yeah, and for sure. I mean, like you said, like the financial service professionals, most of your job is relationship building and to
Yeah.
have that connection. And so I
Yeah.
love that. What other
Thank
things do you
you.
have?
Well, I do think it's good to partner with divorce attorneys. There's a gentleman in our town that I have sent some of the women to that has gotten some very good settlements for them. But you know how attorneys are, Jaclyn. It's like, at least in my experience, unless you're related to one or something, you know, for every 10 referrals you give them, you might get one back just because
Mhm.
they've got like 3 or 4 or 5 financial advisors that they're already probably giving referrals to.
Mhm.
And so I find that it's much easier to partner in this space with the leader of the support groups. It's not quite as competitive. There aren't a lot of financial advisors thinking of doing that. So it's a lot easier to get a steady stream of referrals from, like I said, the divorce support and widow support group leaders versus the attorneys. But it doesn't hurt to try to get referrals going with the divorce attorneys as well. The
Yeah.
other thing is always doing podcasts, radio shows, TV shows with content that really speaks to widows and divorcees is smart. And oh my gosh, uh, there is a woman in our Lady Boss network named Debbie Markham. I don't know if you've met her, Jaclyn, but wonderful woman. Oh, so inspiring. Part of Gradient, one of the financial advisors, and she just wrote a book sharing her personal story on widowhood. And it's selling on Amazon now. If any of you are wanting to write a book and you want to look at one to say, hey, how did another advisor share their story personally about widowhood? She wrote this wonderful book. It just got released this year. It's called From the Ashes, What Widowhood Taught Me About Financial Freedom. So it is on Amazon. Again, that's From the Ashes, What Widowhood Taught Me About Financial Freedom. So definitely writing a book. I know Gradient has a book program that all of you could be a part of. And so that book would be a great one to check out if you're wondering, you know, what somebody else did.
Yeah. No,
Um,
I wanna go read that now, but what about the podcast that we do, Jenna?
I know the podcast, like I said, yeah, podcast, you know, get your own YouTube channel. I mean, Gradient will help you do all of this stuff. I'm amazed. And, you know, it's nice that you have content already that speaks to women that people can plug into. So, yeah, we definitely recommend the podcasts, radio shows. Jaclyn and I have been doing the podcast now for, I think, a couple months.
Yeah.
And she's wonderful to work with. And sometimes it's nice. We love Tony Shore, but sometimes it's nice to have the female perspective as well. So
Absolutely, and
Jaclyn's rocking it.
we get
So
along so well, so
we
it's
do.
truly
We have
so fun
fun.
for both of us.
It is. Yes. Yes. We are competing on the tan thing though. So we'll
Yes.
have to, you might be beating me now. So we'll come back to that though.
Well, what about so I know you've mentioned it to me about the Valentine's Day kind of
Yes.
event that you do. Tell me about that.
Yeah. Well, Valentine's Day, we do a client appreciation party. And we've been doing this for years because if you think about it, you know, if you just lost your spouse, wouldn't you probably be feeling sad on Valentine's Day? I know I would be.
Yes.
And so we invite our single women, which does include divorcees and widows and single women, to a really nice Valentine's Day client appreciation party, show them the love. We've done happy hours, we've done brunches. It just depends on what day Valentine's Day falls, but they just love that. And we'll usually have like a live music saxophone player or something in the background, and it makes them feel special on Valentine's Day. And then, you know what's really neat is if they can't make it to the party, let's say they have something planned or maybe they have a boyfriend now, we will mail them just a really sweet gift. Like we've done chocolate covered strawberries or, you know, flowers, roses. Every year we do something a little different, but we always have a little card that says, we love being your client or your financial advisor. And thank you for being a client and friend, letting them know that we love working with them. And so I will tell you, believe it or not, that gift has gone farther than even the party. I remember there have been years where I'll come back after Valentine's Day the next day and open up my email and I'll have like 10 emails from women going, "Oh my gosh, you made my day. I was so sad. Thank you for getting me flowers." And so it really touches their heart if you send them something on Valentine's Day, since you know that that is going to be probably a really hard day for them. The other thing you can do is, Jaclyn, I know we've talked about like church women's retreats
Yes.
before. You know, there's a ton of women's retreats going on. I mean, sometimes women get together to quilt. Sometimes they get together for faith-based reasons, whatever, but there's a lot of women's retreats that you could go speak at, or even a divorce recovery retreat. And then the other thing you can do to meet people, women or women in transition, is if you join a women's networking group. And I know that there are a ton that you can look into. I personally have had success with a national organization called American Businesswomen's Association, ABWA. So that would be a good one to check out if any of you are looking for good women's networking groups. But there are just a lot of different strategies to attract these women, as you can see.
Yeah, yeah, you have so many, but I think my favorite of them all was the Valentine's Day,
Oh,
idea, and honestly, I would call it a Galentine's Day is what
yes,
you know
yes. We have marketed it that way, but I'm glad you reminded me of that.
Yes,
Yes.
I think that's just so important. I mean, I truly spend, Valentine's Day typically with my girlfriends too, and it's just it it brings a lot of emotions that day
Yeah,
specifically.
it does.
So,
Yes.
well, and if
Yeah.
any of the women wanted to get more education who are listening, how would you help women get through a divorce process and stuff like that? What resources or opportunities do they have?
Yeah. Well, if someone is just wanting to get more education on the divorce process itself, and maybe partner up with divorce attorneys and basically market themselves as an expert in that area, there is a really neat designation. You could have a goal to obtain what's called the Certified Divorce Financial Analyst, and it's CDFA. Again, that's CDFA designation. And basically, you would go through a real structured process overseen by the Institute for Divorce Financial Analysts, IDFA. And it's a very prestigious designation. You have to either have 5 years of financial planning experience or a bachelor's degree to be eligible to obtain it.
Mhm.
But this could give you more credibility for anyone searching for someone with that designation online. Often, when divorce attorneys are going through some complex, big divorces, if they don't really understand a lot about the investments and how they're taxed and all of that, they will bring in a CDFA into that whole process. Sometimes you can even be called in to speak. But if you wanted to just attract more prospects by having that designation, if someone's searching for that online, or if an attorney needed to speak with one, if you get that designation, it could open up some more doors and just really make you more knowledgeable to help someone if they're going through a divorce. Now, I personally do have a goal to pass this. My husband told me, "Well, Jenna, don't get too smart about this whole divorce thing." I thought that was so funny. But anyway, the reason that I want to get the designation, the CDFA, is I do want to be even more knowledgeable, because I do get such a steady stream of
Mhm.
people coming from that divorce support group. So I called RIA registrar the other day, because you can market some designations and you can't market others. And they did tell me that we are able, at least in Kansas, to market ourselves with this designation. We have to update our ADV, they said. But once I pass, they said, make sure to update us and we'll get it on your ADV. But again, that's the Certified Divorce Financial Analyst, CDFA designation. And that would be a way to differentiate yourself from other advisors too, really, in the area.
Yeah, Jenna, that is such valuable information. I mean, I've never even heard of this before. So, this is fantastic. I mean, this is a
That's
huge
great.
resource for so many financial advisors to go for and to achieve. And that's just amazing. So, I
Thank
thank you
you.
for that.
Yes.
So I know, like, how could the women listening to this podcast take a first step to get started?
Well, get involved with serving this community of women going through big life transitions. I really feel like this is a community that's underserved and they need help. I mean, there's probably a woman sitting in a support group right now that wishes they could find a female financial advisor in their area that they'd feel comfortable with, helping them navigate the financial part of losing a spouse. And I think the best place to start, if I was just getting going on this, would be to talk to the women that you have close relationships with that are clients or even friends that have gone through a divorce or lost their spouse, they're a widow, and ask them, when you lost your spouse, did you go to any good support groups? And if they say yes, you could say, would you mind introducing me to the leader of that support group? And if they're open to doing that, you could take the leader out for coffee, maybe even with your client, and let them know that you have a passion for serving women that are going through a divorce or are widows, and that you have a presentation that you give in the community that can really help them have more confidence to rebuild financially. And again, the one that I use is the Allianz Women, Money, and Power PowerPoint. And I've combined that a little bit with the pieces of the puzzle PowerPoint presentation that Gradient has. And the biggest thing that I think you need to have in the folder when you go to speak to these women is there is a financial checklist for women going through widowhood or divorce. And it just walks them through step by step the things that they really need to think about after they go lose their spouse. And it's so overwhelming emotionally that sometimes people just freeze and don't do these things. So it makes sure that they don't forget anything. And they just feel such a sense of accomplishment and more confidence after completing this. And so I wouldn't tackle the whole world, but maybe you could have a goal of at least getting plugged into one divorce or widowhood group this month. Take that leader out for coffee, show them some of the things you talk about in the presentation, and they'd probably love to have you come in and speak and educate the women.
Yeah. Yeah. Transitions are so hard for everybody. And so just taking that one step, like you said, Jenna, is just so important.
It is. And on that note, the one step I really think people should take is to call their annuity marketer, because the annuity marketers have this financial checklist. They also can guide you on where to get these PowerPoints to create your presentation if you want to go in and speak to these support groups. So I do encourage you, because I sent it to them and they're ready for your call, to give your annuity marketer a call to get started with this marketing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love this. This is such a great topic, Jenna. And
Thank you.
before we go, is there any other closing thoughts from you?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, there are many women looking for someone empathetic and knowledgeable to help them navigate this financial loss of losing their spouse. I do believe there is such an opportunity to serve women going through these big life transitions. And I'll leave you with a quote from Mr. Chan. Sometimes it takes only one act of kindness and caring to change a person's life.
Oh, that is so moving. I love this. So, Jenna, thank you so much for joining us on the Women in Business podcast today. It was truly a pleasure.
Thank you.
And for those who are listening, if you're ready to take immediate action on anything you heard in today's episode, call 800-407-4137 to speak with a vice president of marketing. And be sure to tune in on the first Tuesday of every month for valuable ideas and strategies that can take your financial expertise to the next level. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Amazon Music, or you can watch the episodes on YouTube. Thank you, Jenna.
Thank you.